Welcome back to another Counter-Strike edition of our esports breakdown here at FSI. Today we are going to look at the slate for Sunday. We have a 3-game slate with a 1-game showdown that is not included in the main slate with Astralis and G2, and that is because it is a best-of-5 series with Astralis starting at 1-0 with a map lead. So we will talk about that one at the end here, but I want to focus first on our main slate, and then we will touch on the showdown here in a little bit. So we have a 3-game slate, 2 of the games starting at 9:30, early games, and then Heretics and Ninja in Pajamas is starting at 1 o'clock. So we're first going to take a look at the odds, kind of like I always start with in my research. It's pretty clear 3 favorites on the slate. Team Spirit, Virtus Pro, and Ninja in Pajamas, and then Astralis is obviously a minus 600 favorite too. So Spirit coming in as our biggest favorite. I don't think we need to really put these teams in order in which we think they're the biggest favorites here in terms of who we target. I just think that we need to know these are the 3 main teams we want to target. Nothing looks to be like ultra competitive. The closest one we have, NIP and Heretics, and Spirit and Windstrike actually have the best odds to potentially go 3 maps, but every one is projecting that it will stay under 2 or less or 2 maps, so that the favorite will sweep. So we will kind of figure that in when we get into our builds here. First we will take a look at Windstrike and Spirit. So what I also did today is I brought up, if I can get to it, let's see, can I move this? I can, yes I can. Okay, I'm gonna go to Windstrike. Sorry, not Windstrike, Spirit, since they are the favorite here. If we look at our pricing, Myrrh coming in at 8,400 as the most expensive, Some Die Young at 7,600, iDisbalance at 6,800, Chopper at 6,400, and Magic's at 5,400. So if you've been playing Counter-Strike during most of this road to Rio, the prices have basically flipped upside down besides Myrrh. Chopper has been leading the slate as the most expensive player for a while. Magic's has always kind of been at the bottom, but Some Die Young and iDisbalance have been super cheap, sometimes in the middle. So those 3 have really rotated their positions. Now, the stats I'm bringing up right here are their stats when they have played together, which I really like to use as in my research, because I think when you just look at a player over their whole career, they might have played against tougher competition, been with different teams, had different roles. I think we know that that does definitely play a part in their production when they are playing as a team. So as you can tell, the top 3, Myrrh, Some Die Young, and iDisbalance are pretty clearly ahead of the rest. Chopper's recent form in this tournament has been really good, and I think that's why when DK game loggers are looking at him, he had some really great games in where that really shot his price up. And then I think people just assume, they look and see the 80, 70 point DK games, that he's one of their best players, and he's super cheap. And I'm not saying at 6,400 he's definitely not. He's definitely viable as a minus 300 favorite. He has decent underlying numbers. He is under that 0.7 kill per round in the last 3 months, so that is a little bit concerning with other guys that are potentially in better spots. But here the kill to death ratio difference is pretty substantial to show the 3 guys that I do want to target here for Spirit. So if we go back to our lineup builder, I think Myrrh is probably one of your first cash players in. Elian is cheaper and has had some massive games lately, and I don't think Windstrike just flops over here and lets Spirits run away with it, but I do think they potentially could steal 1 map, and I think he definitely could pay off his $8,200 price tag. I definitely could see him scoring 60, 65 points, especially if it goes 3 maps. But likely, if Spirit either sweeps or Spirit does pretty well and Elian does not lead the team in a 2-1 loss, I don't think he is the best play at 8,200. I think he's perfect for GPP. I think Bondek and Hobbit are both, again, the other guys that I would ever consider for them. I don't ever go down really to Lackey or Krizen, but so I think in a GPP mindset, I think they're in play, but I do definitely like Spirit here. I think here the next kind of choice is Some Die Young or iDisbalance. I think for the cheaper price tag, I would prefer iDisbalance. And then if you want to use a third Spirit, you can go Chopper or go back to Some Die Young. Pricing is pretty soft overall on this slate, so I don't think that you need to completely punt. And I think you can really look at the numbers of guys and say, well, you know, for 600 more, I think that definitely is worth the upgrade. All right, on to our next game, Hard Legion versus Virtus Pro. Hard Legion has recently beat them, if my memory serves me correctly, 2-1. But Hard Legion did lose today, I believe. Double check. Let me see. So right here we have Virtus Pro. I'm just going to go back here into our matches. So we have Virtus Pro and Hard Legion. I just wanted to kind of see Hard Legion's recent results here. And they have seemed like they've been, have played a couple lower level teams too. If I remember just DFS wise, I think I saw them. I think we did get them against, alternate attacks. But in Road to Rio, yeah, they lost to Winstrike today. They got beat up pretty good. But yeah, they beat Virtus Pro here on May 8th. So, I mean, they've kind of been all over the map, beating Simple and then losing here to Elian. So they're not my favorite team to target, but I do think in a world that the pricing is so soft, and if you're playing GPPs, I think you can certainly look at Forrester, and probably Crad would be my top two plays for Hard Legion, but they're definitely not the side of this matchup that I'm looking at. I'm definitely looking towards Jame and Virtus Pro. Jame being one of my favorite plays on the slate. His underlying stats are pretty phenomenal, and it's pretty consistent. So I don't think there's any reason that we would need to really adjust any of that. So let's look at context lineup. So that means I want to look at what they are playing with right now. And then let's look at their stats. So, and I think, yeah, from what I saw earlier too, it's pretty clear in 213 maps, these guys have played together. These three jump, I mean, and James by far, you know, with a 1.31 kill to death ratio is by far the best play on this team and the play on the slate. Buster and Quickert are both also viable. If I look at their prices, Buster at 8,000 and Quickert at 7,200. I think I prefer Quickert just a little bit more based on the price decrease, but if you can fit Buster in there, I think those two as a stack is phenomenal. So going back to kind of our DK page, Jame, like I said, at 8,800, Buster at 8,000, Forrester, GPP-ish, same with Crad. Crad being the same price as Quickert. I think I lean Quickert just being that bigger favorite here. If you want to go down and potentially play some value, I don't really love any of the punts here. So that's probably where I will stop with this game. All right, going on to probably my favorite team to play lately is NIP, Ninja in Pajamas. They just have been a really DFS friendly team. A lot of their maps have gone to overtime. We got the triple overtime against FaZe. Plopsky is super aggressive, which gets to a lot of first kills, and he has that clutch ability to pull off a 1v3, 1v4. So he's got those other fantasy stats upsides. If you're not used to playing CSGO on DFS, it's not just the deaths or the kills and the deaths. It's the assists, the first kills, and then that fantasy upside that somebody like Zaiwu and Plopsky and Nico have, where they can clutch a play. They can get the 4-kill, the ace, some of those other stats. So Plopsky at 8,600 is also one of my favorite cash studs, which it does seem pretty obvious. We're targeting the top 3, but with the pricing being so soft, typically we'd see the studs of teams that are minus 200 or higher to be closer to that 9 to 10,000 range. It just spreads out the pricing a little bit more. So that makes this pricing a little bit softer and easier for us to build with. After Plopsky on NIP, we have Rez, Knock, Lecro, and Twist. I think I would probably based on price, rate Knock over Rez. Rez did play really well against FaZe, but I do think long term they're pretty close in numbers, and I don't think that price difference is enough. If I need the $800 savings to Knock, I'd prefer to go there. And Lecro played amazing against FaZe as well. And it wasn't just one map. He kind of was consistent throughout all three. Twist, if you need the salary, I think there's a chance they sweep for 5,200. I think he can definitely get there. And Heretics, they're just that team that I can't seem to really figure out. Like, Mac is awesome. If he's playing phenomenal and has these 30 kill maps, they're definitely staying competitive. But it seems like it can unravel really quick for them, and then it almost feels like they're throwing in the towel pretty early on some of these maps. And they're not really ones that like to sit and save. So it does make for a DFS friendly opponent in NIP to rack up some extra kills when Maka is going for some extra personal stats when the bomb isn't planted. He's got no chance to defuse it. So I think Nevera is a pretty crazy GPP play. Not crazy, but I mean 6,600 of a guy that even as an underdog has always stayed in the high sevens, just because he does sport. We look here, 0.73 kills per round in the last 3 months. He's been a pretty good player with the op, and I think he can definitely be viable. I think that's one of those cases where you look at a guy like Chopper or I Disbalance on a bigger favorite, but might have slightly worse underlying numbers as a player. So do you think Nevera, if the match goes, say, 3 maps, does he outscore a punt or somebody that might like Chopper, who's a value play on a bigger favorite? It all kind of depends. If Team Spirit sweeps and Chopper gets an extra 20 points for that last round, 20 points is above most players' averages besides the top guys per round. So that's kind of where that breaking point happens. And I talked about that on the last video too. The longer these maps go, the more chances it's giving the best players to create that lead. But when you get the 2-0 sweeps, you're giving XMS here, is say that Heretics swept, you're giving XMS that same 20 points that Maka would be getting. Well, we know over the course of the long term that those two are not scoring the same per round. So just kind of remember that, like, we really do want competitive games, and 3 maps is okay. You just don't want that one map that your team loses with your players for them to be pretty low or have a bad kill to death ratio. When you get that 10-point map and a loss, that's kind of disappointing. So I think there's a lot of different layers to CSGO DFS. So I think as the game evolves, which I hope it will and continue to do, we have another big tournament coming up. So I think hopefully DK continues to offer these types of slates, and then we'll continue to do this. And I'm really pumped kind of to watch G2 tomorrow again against Australis. So if we look at in our lineups, and we're going to go to the showdown slate here. Now, it is a best of 5 series, but because we are coming from Australis is coming from the upper bracket where they have not lost, they will get the 1-0 map advantage. So it's like a best of 5, but Australis just needs to win 2 more times and then it's over. So I don't really know how to totally interpret that into DFS, besides I probably want a 3 Australis in cash, which is probably what I would have done if it was a normal best of 3 anyway. So I think obviously Device, he was super popular yesterday, has been pretty popular every single slate he's been on. Always feels like he's slightly underpriced. So I think he's another guy you can certainly go to here. And let's see if I can get rid of that. So Magix and Zipix are my, those are the top three. Dupree went off last game, and I faded him, even though most of my lineups were pretty chalky and doubled up anyway, or we landed on the same lineup and head-to-head. But I think it's going to be who is that G2 guy, or in GPPs you take two G2 guys. I think the fear would be if Australis just wins in 2 maps, all their players are getting that extra 5-point bonus for the sweep. So I think recent form would point to Nexa or Hunter as being the best 2 players. Longer term form, especially in Road to Rio, it would be Kenny. Kenny on the op, it's been kind of a roller coaster. Today wasn't all that great, but on Friday it was a lot better. The day before, so people are on him, off him, on him, off him. So I don't know. It just really depends. Hunter has finally, I think, shown to be playing to more where his ability and his long-term numbers are at. But I think that on a slate like this too, don't be afraid to eat salary. I think people forget that. Like, if you really believe, Nexa is playing better than Hunter, and you're just eating the, 1,000, 2,000, it's a $2,000 difference between the two. So I think if you just I outright think Nexa is a better play, then just do it. It's going to be different. A lot of times these lineups, especially in Showdown, that end in $100 left over, $0 left over, it's going to be pretty chalky. A lot of people are going like this. They're going, I'm going to take the top 3 players in here. Sorry, they are going to go do this, which obviously sometimes works, but they will click the top 3 players. And who is my last player? Okay, now I have a 2-2 with a Manic. Not ideal in my opinion. I think I'd rather have 3 Australis, and if I need to go Dupree, I could go Dupree at captain, Device, and then maybe Magix. Even if I go Magix there, I can't get to Hunter, so I would have to go down to Zipix and then go back up to Hunter, and now I'm eating $1,000 worth of salary. So then maybe you upgrade Dupree at captain, see if you can get Magix or Zipix in that spot. So I think when you're building for Showdown, really don't take price too much into consideration or feel like you have to play the best player in the captain role. One kind of comparison I had with someone else that we talk over the slates a lot is, if you are comparing a captain spot and a not, but you both own the guy, that they only get a half points more on you, where that 1-for-1 different player in the flex, that's at 1x. So their performance difference is more important than the 2 different guys you have in your flex or in your captain. Obviously, if you play somebody that doesn't have somebody in the captain, then they're really important to do well, because you have them at 1.5x compared to your opponent. Again, I'm talking a little bit more from a head-to-head perspective, which is all I typically play. But I do really like to check in on ownerships on cash games and a lot of the high-dollar GPPs as well. Kind of gives me a better insight to know that the process that we are doing is working. And today was a really successful day using Nico at captain, getting Nexa in the lineup, and Godsent, even though they didn't look pretty, the overall paid off their price tags pretty well. Windstrike, Elian did really well as well. So I think the pricing was soft enough to get them all in. So hopefully you guys enjoyed another breakdown. I do think that we will not have a slate on Monday unless we get some small slates. We don't have anything major, I don't think, until Tuesday with the Dream Hacker event, the Masters. I think if I even already look at the schedule, which hopefully DK will be offering this, that we would see it on Tuesday. So I think maybe on Monday we will get the Blast slate, which they have offered in the past. Otherwise, the Dream Hack Masters, Australis starting out early in the morning. And then we have matches throughout the day, G2 and North, and Liquid and Chaos. So even some newer teams that we haven't necessarily seen, even though they'll likely be underdogs. But it looks like for the next week, we have 3 matches every single day. So hopefully we can get to continue to offer that and keep looking into the slates. 3 is really a good number. 3 allows for some differentiation in builds, but I do hope the pricing becomes a little bit more difficult in terms of getting some of the top guys priced up a little bit higher to really force people to make decisions. Unlike Nico basically being 100% owned today at 8,200, which we know was the chalk. So thanks again for tuning in. We got a lot of great stuff coming at you. Soccer was phenomenal today. Check it out tomorrow. We're free over the weekend. Esports will continue to be free for the time being. So check us out on our Discord channel, and we will continue to look and build on what we're starting. So thanks a lot. Give us a subscribe, give us a like.